Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Jared Powley's Fragrance Reviews. Tonight we're going to be looking at a fragrance from the house of Laroche. This is Horizon Pour Homme EDT Eau de Toilette, which came out in 1993. Most people know the house of Laroche for its Drakkar line, especially Drakkar Noir. As for Horizon Pour Homme, this is an older bottle. This appeared on the scene when there was a transformation into more fresh aquatic type fragrances that started in the early 90s. This is not a sexy fragrance. It was sold as being a sexy fragrance, and I think this is what off-puts some people, is that it had some very sexual images to sell it, but it's really not that type of fragrance at all. One thing I would just like to make a few comments before I start about the power of associations. And I think that in a person's fragrance journey, whatever you smell first. So for me, I'm 45 years old and I remember fragrances of the early 80s. So those fragrances are imprinted in my mind. But I know many gentlemen that really didn't have any associations with fragrances until the sweet craze, and they can't get out of it. All they is sweet, these bubblegum, alcohol, chocolatey, gourmand scents, and they can't appreciate anything else. And that's really too bad, because you don't want to get stuck in not maturing your sense. And also, you also got to be careful with niche fragrances. There are some great niche fragrances, some great niche houses, but that's also a trap. The sweet and niche trap is something you want to avoid. And the thing is, if you're already mid, late 30s, early 40s, is it really appropriate to be wearing bubblegum teenage fragrances? I find it very strange, and I think that over time, you want to develop your own personality. You don't want to follow the trends. You should already have your own style. Trends and style are two completely different things. Trends you follow. Style, that's who you are. So those are just a couple points I want to make on fragrances in general. Is don't get stuck. And I think there's a lot of people now that are railroaded and pigeonholed into certain types of fragrances, and I don't think they're growing up. And it's like a strange kind of immaturity that some people have. Anyways, getting back to this fragrance, this is not an overpowering fragrance. It is, I think, a fragrance that was experimental, and it's something that was never fully actualized. That I think that how the fragrance turned out was never what it was intended to be. But I do consider this somewhat a little bit of a groundbreaker, because it went off in a different direction. It's very unique. Not many fragrances smell like this. And the best way to describe this fragrance would be like an early morning wake up call, like almost like an aftershave to freshen you up, to get you going. And I think that's where the name Horizon comes from. It's you waking up in the morning. This has moderate performance, maybe 5 hours, average scent bubble, average scent trail. It's a curious scent. And, I'm going to spray it on the back of my wrist here. Like I said, it's the same shape as the Drakkar line. It's an interesting bottle. So the initial is kind of a soapy pine with mint. And I actually like it. And some people I know, 3 guys I know, have worn this fragrance. And this is another word of caution. Don't just spray a tester strip or the back of your hand, or spray it in the air and say, oh, I don't like it, it's no good. You have to wear the fragrance. You have to wear it for several days. So people, if ever you see a review where the guy just sprays it in the air and smells it, or on the paper is not skin. It's not your body. So you have to use it several times. And this fragrance really changes depending on the person's chemistry. Like I said, 3 guys I knew wore it, and they all had very different effects from it. But off the skin, it actually is very, very nice. But again, if a guy's just spraying on the back of his hand or in the air, you can't, that's not an accurate review. That's not accurate in any manner. So you have to do your due diligence when you're buying fragrances, and these superficial mentalities that just, oh, it's old, or it's dated, or whatever. I don't buy any of that. For a lot of the comments that I hear about fragrances is because they haven't tried them, they haven't worn them. So you're being duped. And the best thing is always try your fragrance, always wear it, then you be the judge. That's a very important point. But anyways, as this dries down, the soapiness dies off and it becomes, I think, more herbal and a touch sweeter. But later on, I definitely get like an oregano, kind of sour pine, minty woodedness. So like I said, this is one that changes greatly depending on the person's body chemistry. And like I said, not all fragrances vary wildly between who's wearing them, but this is one, depending on who you are, you could get a very different result. As for the notes, the top notes are aldehydes, cassia, green notes, lavender, mint, artemisia, bergamot, and mandarin orange. The mid notes are pine tree needles, carnation, cyclamen, caraway, geranium, rose, and jasmine. The base notes are oak moss, leather, cedar, sandalwood, patchouli, musk, amber, and sea salt. So just a few closing remarks. I don't think this is being produced anymore. It's relatively inexpensive online if you can find it. And it may be something if you want to grow up a little bit or mature and get out of this rut of these sweet, boozy cinnamon gourmands, and you want to expand your horizons. This is something you may want to try. And just with one last personal note, in the next few days I'm going to be doing a review on a fragrance that I've been trying to attain for a couple of months. And this is a legendary fragrance in the history of perfumery. And it actually cost me to get this one bottle. I had to give up my bottle of Dior Sauvage, Stronger With You, Bleu de Chanel, Guerlain, L'Homme Ideal, Sean John fragrance, and YSL Live. I had to give up 6 fragrances to get this one fragrance. So in the next few days, I'm going to be revealing it. Again, if you like this video, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and notification bell. Any comments or questions, leave them down below, and I'll always answer you back. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.